All right.
Did you want me to walk in?
Here we go.
Hi guys, Dan here, blindfolded to the woods. Nick has asked us to do a little bit of a recap. We talk a little bit about what we've done over the last month. So without further ado.
I'll start with Stu. He writes the music, man. Without Stu, you know, this band ceases to exist from a musical point of view. There's no one else that writes music like Stu does.
He just lives his life in an artistic way, and I've been married to artists before and things like that. I know what that's like, and he fills that kind of thing, and he's a fucking genius.
He's a very pragmatic and methodical person in a lot of ways. He's quiet, he's hilarious. I mean, we had some tremendous laughs in the van over some very silly stuff.
Tonight we've only got 2 chairs to be able to watch each other shower, so...
Alright Stu, well you might as well jump in there. When you're ready, bro.
Sometimes Stu is fucking mysterious. When he talks, I actually really find myself listening. Like, I'm not trying to answer the next thing. Stu's really such a interesting person like that. And he does that not only through talking to you, but also to his music.
Yeah, sure, I put in all the admin to do it, but like if we didn't have a vessel like his music to actually get us to this point, it's, you know, we wouldn't be here anyways. Very thankful that Stu has created this music for us to be here. So Stacy and I have known each other for 25 years. We weren't overly great friends at high school, but we knew who each other were, and Stacy's one of my closest confidants. Yeah, the amount of like conversations him and I had, like when we were going to check into the ACOM together and stuff, like just checking in with each other, like I'm very thankful for Stacy's friendship and to be in a band with him.
Absolute powerhouse of a vocalist, and night after night his vocals were just devastating. The show that we played in Portland especially, that show especially, he brought, you know, these insane vocals. Man, it was just so cool hearing him night after night, smashing it. One of my all-time best friends, so super grateful to be in a band with him.
Stace is like, for me, like the rock of the band. He is actually kind of like a father figure, and I just think he's an incredible guy, incredible vocalist, and love him to bits.
He is always constantly someone who can bring it back down and say things concisely, and is such a pillar of divine masculinity, if you will. I think he's really quite a pillar in that, because he's so understanding and accepting, but he knows how to fucking lay it down when it needs to be laid down.
He's a tremendous force. He's a workhorse. I feel similar to him in a lot of ways on just our sort of commitment to like, let's get this shit done so that we can go and do this thing, as well as obviously being a ridiculous lyricist. When you read the lyrics on our most recent album, I think it really is a testament to his intellect and craftsmanship with words. Papa Smurf, band daddy. I'm sort of certainly used to being a band daddy in other projects, and it's rad to see someone else how they do it. Nick's deeply methodical and practical and super well planned and conscientious, and so realistically he's been the architect. It just wouldn't have been as peaceful and as successful, I think, without his influence.
Nick brings a business acumen and skill set for dotting I's and crossing T's that none of us really in the band have. He does all the networking and the organising and all the emailing and the accounting and just everything that goes on in the background to run a business, because that's what this band is. It is a business.
What do you even say? Like, he made all of our musical dreams come true for the first time on this one. We had tour Bibles, so if we didn't know what was going on, we could just open that up, have a look at where we're supposed to be going. Everything was like, there was a full itinerary of everything we were doing, where we needed to be at what time. So we didn't have to keep constantly asking about things like that. So it was super well organised.
The guy, I don't know how he does it, has done nothing but prove his incredible capacity for admin and just managing the band, managing the tour, making everything happen. Nothing was ever a problem for him. He never got pissed off or anything like that, which is more than I can say for me. Just an incredible guy and a fucking sick bass player.
Nick is an absolute reflection of all of the logistical, analytical, and damn right, 100% accurate fucking genius person that I need to literally work on. Nick has done a lot of fucking work to get us to the point that we're at, and we are so lucky to have him. And although, you know, sometimes it can be like hard to work things out, I always feel so lucky that Nick's there to help work things out.
Dan and I have known each other since I first moved to Wellington in 2011. He came to this band 18 months ago, 2 years ago. You know, I think when he joined the band, initially it was just like, you know, you're the second guitarist, you know, you're kind of filling Ben's shoes. But the amount of work that Dan has put in on this tour, like, that he didn't have to. Like, he could have just come along for the ride, but he's making sure pedal boards are set up, he's making sure the van's packed, he's doing the driving. Like, he didn't have to do all that, and he did. I honestly think he might be the underrated MVP of this tour. Yeah, very thankful for Dan on this trip, and I hope he continues to do more of it for us, because I think we make a pretty good team.
Is such a hardworking person. He gives so much. He gives too much. Actually, it might even hurt him. But I admire that about him, because that's ultimately what I feel like a good man is. He's a giver and he's a doer, and that's exactly what Dan is.
He's just so proficient. Like, god damn, he's a very sick guitarist, and his quality that he brings with his skills in synth work and tones and everything like that. He just brings a whole lot of professionalism to the band, and touring with him has been really great, because he and I have never really hung out closely before the tour, so it was really good to spend some time with him. And we bonded over things like packing the van together and doing the majority of the driving and stuff like that. So no, it's been really, really good to hang with Dan.
He knows everything about everything, and he's a fucking amazing guitarist, and he's just high on life. He's one of those guys that does things with a purpose, for the benefit of everybody involved, and hats off to him, man. He's a GC.
I think he might actually be crazy, but that craziness just like adds to his sense of humor and how funny he makes everything. The dude is just so onto it with anything to do with gear. He's an absolute asset to have on tour and to have in the band. The bro shreds.
The wee firecracker, Cuda, he and I hit it off just immediately in a couple of Australian tours ago when he first joined the band. I don't know, man, I just love that guy heaps. And he's a beautiful person. He's the kind of throw caution to the wind kind of fun guy in the band without, again, without insulting anybody else in the band or whatever. But yeah, he's just got that kind of attitude, that free and easy kind of attitude. But at the same time, he's very spiritual. He's actually very wise for his age. I just have a lot of love for Cuda. I think he's a really special person. And that actually goes for everybody, of course. And, oh my God, have you seen him play the drums? He's pretty fucking good.
He's got more happy youthful energy than I've probably ever had in a person. And he brings this energy to the group that sometimes when we're a little bit flat or tired, he would just come on in. He's got a silly laugh that I enjoy giggling along with. And on top of that, obviously, like, he's a freak of nature behind the kit. So yeah.
There wasn't a single show on this tour where people wouldn't talk about how insane his drumming is. Like, he is a freaking madman. He's also absolutely crazy, and also a really good sort of shoulder to lean on if you need a yarn. He's just a fantastic human being. You know, he's a bit younger, so he brings a bit of energy to the crew right when we need it. So yeah, just another amazing bro.
He is fucking insane. He brings such a youthful vibrancy to the band as well. Like, we're all a bit older than Cuda, but he's young and full of energy, and he goes and talks to random strangers on the street. And it's those are things that I used to do when I was a bit younger as well, but I definitely see that in him, and I welcome it, because I don't want to fall into the trap of being an old fart in an old fart band, you know? So I'm stoked we've got some youth around to keep us on our toes.
It must be a little bit tough to like come on tour with a bunch of guys who are in their late 30s who are pretty set in their ways, and yet he's always like energetic, he's always ready to go. And also I think he's actually a lot more mature than he lets on. He just wants everyone to have a good time, which is, yeah, pretty awesome.
So the tour finished in Las Vegas, and it just so happened that NHRA drag racing was happening at the Strip, which is the drag strip they have just in the desert. An absolutely incredible facility. So I've been wanting to go to an NHRA meeting since I knew what NHRA was, you know, since I was a baby. Drag racing is obviously my other passion in life. It's something that's so important to me and something that I want to do for my entire life. So to be able to go to an NHRA, you know, that is the pinnacle of drag racing, the best drivers, the fastest cars. And I'm just watching these top fuel dragsters. They're going 550 kilometers an hour in 3.5 seconds, and they're doing it like clockwork. And it's an absolutely insane thing to witness. Even if you're not that into cars, I think it's one of those things that you go to. The sheer volume and the way that these things shake the earth when they go past. It's not like anything you'll ever experience with anything. Like, the sheer power is just incredible. And it was super cool to meet some of the drivers, talk to some people who have similar cars to mine back home, and just shoot the shit, you know. It was super cool. One of the best days of my life. So massive thank you to the guys for sort of facilitating that.
Poker in Vegas, man. Like, poker has been such a big part of my life. I've played for 20 years and I've always wanted to go to Vegas for the World Series of Poker, and I haven't done that yet, but I never thought it would be music that would bring me to Vegas. So to have that day off after the tour, and I went to 3 different casinos, played 2 tournaments, and then a crazy mixed cash game, which I'm going to remember forever. And I actually swapped details with a couple of the guys at the table, and dude, that was like an incredible experience. And while I missed out on going to the Sphere, like, I'm planning to come back to Vegas again, you know. There's going to be more opportunities, but I just really needed to tick the poker thing off my bucket list. And like, the last 3.5 hours that I was at that 3rd casino was some of the most fun I've ever had playing cards, especially games that I just didn't know how to play. Pretty happy with that.
My initial reflection on this whole tour is that I've had a great opportunity to really reach and connect with so many people from all throughout America. And the thing I've really loved about this tour is it's been such a personal trip. We've made so many friends on such a deep level, met some heroes, made some new friends, you know, met some old ones between all of us, and do things that I would have never dreamed of doing, and, you know, make some memories I never would have thought I would have ever had.
The fact that I had a great relationship with 5 really fucking awesome guys, and it's only just gotten stronger. I think that's what that's about. But I guess musically, maybe tour-wise, absolute roller coaster. Just from you get to a venue, you try and suss it out as quickly as possible. You start your sound sheet, you do your thing. Then all of a sudden it's finished. You're packing up, you're going home, you're finding the ACOM, then you're getting as much sleep as you can, and then you're just doing it again. And that is essentially what the tour was. And it was fucking cool.
It's probably seemingly pride. Not many bands from New Zealand get to do this. We did most of it off our own back. You know, there was a lot of hard work from everyone, obviously, and we had some assistance along the way, but ultimately we made this happen in a lot of ways. So I just have a lot of pride for that. It was hard work, like super hard work at times. I'm still feeling it now. But yeah, in the main, it's pride probably is where I'm feeling.
I think when you get to the end of something like this, well, my initial instinct is to be like, what could we have done better or what could we have done? But I think just all the work that we went in for almost 2 years before this definitely makes me feel quite proud of what we've done. Basically, we're a small band, you know, we're from the bottom of the world, and there's no guarantee that people are going to come out and listen to our music, but people did, and it was awesome. I think, yeah, pride and just pretty stoked that we've made it back in one piece.
We've accomplished something that we've been working towards for a really long time. For me, anyway, it was a goal to travel overseas and play shows right from when we first started the band. I was 23 at the time when I joined the band. I'm 39 now, so it's just gone 16 years since I joined this band, and we hadn't even played a show yet at this point, but I know the goal back then was to play music and eventually get overseas and perform. I think we've achieved that now. Like Australia, for sure, we've played there a few times now. We've done multiple tours there, but to come this far and to play this many shows in a market that we've never been to before is an accomplishment that's worth acknowledging. And I feel a big sense of gratitude for the ability to be able to do it while I still can.
Man, what an amazing time it was. So it's unlike anything I've ever done with music. America is absolutely beautiful place. And by the same token, it is really grim and sad. So it's this weird 50-50 of being amazed and then sometimes being so sad that you can't just look away. It's really different. It's a really different place to New Zealand. And yeah.
My favourite show, from a purely sound point of view, my favourite show was Santa Fe. The sound system worked and it had a pretty good crowd. And the other one would have been Seattle, because the house engineer went, whoa, I could actually hear everything. And it's kind of like, yeah, bro, turn the bass down, man. It's insane, all the US audio engineers, and just the mental amounts of low end they put into their mix, and you just can't hear anything else.
Favorite show, I gotta say Reggie's Chicago. That was sick. I think because the atmosphere, I really liked Chicago. It was a great place.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think Reggie's sticks out in my mind from in Chicago, and also the Seattle show was sick as well, and Portland. I mean, let's go with Reggie's. Real sort of historic venue, really cool venue, cool aesthetic. The street we were on was rad. Everyone played cool that night. There was cool bands, a lot of fun.
Favorite show is probably Chicago, I think. Just the vibe was right, the city was beautiful, everything came together for that one, and that was sort of like the apex of just the fun that we had on stage together that night. Like, something about that show I think is going to live long in my memory for that one.
Hard to say a specific favourite show, but if a gun was held to my head, I'd probably say Santa Fe.
Chicago, Portland, Seattle, amazing shows.
I arrived 40 minutes early. You were 15 minutes late.
One of the biggest fears I had with this tour was like, what if Volcanra, who we've never met, like what if they're dicks? And I'm pleased to say, like with like one show in, I was like, oh, they're not dicks, they're fucking awesome. So like Dave's admin style for the band, you know, being the admin guy and blindfolded, we definitely swapped a few notes, and yeah, definitely a few things I can take away.
What a fucking bunch of 5 amazing guys. I remember first meeting them in LA, and it was kind of standoffish and everyone was just kind of sussing everyone out and that kind of thing. But within about 3 days, we were best mates. I'm really glad about sort of easygoing and nice, personable people they were. There were no egos, and I'm fucking sick, man. So consistent, just played those songs the same every night. and which was incredible. It was actually like wow, we're watching like actually amazingly professional band here. It was totally awesome, and I think we learned a lot from them.
The Volcanra boys have really showed and taught me you have to practice patience. Patience isn't something that you just have, it's something that you practice. And you practice it with your bandmates, and they practice it with you and the venue manager and everyone involved.
They didn't get a lot of sound checks a lot of the time just because of the nature of load-in times and doors and all that kind of stuff, and yet they just seemingly got up there, rocked out every night. Dave's patter was always on point, and the boys just sounded great. So I think what I learned from them is just like a consistency, how to bring a consistency to your performance.
Their professionalism on stage is crazy. Like, on the money they are every single night. I think that we have a lot more like ebbs and flows with our band, and I think every night we put on a great show. For us, having the crowd giving that energy back, those shows would be like up here. But Volcanra, pro as hell. Extremely good band.
They have their merch game on point, eh? They've got like these racks, and they put their t-shirts on these display cards so they all look nice and tidy. They've got a large range, it's all colourful. It's just fucking awesome. Their merch game, as soon as they finish show, they're straight to the merch table. You know, they've got everything on display. They've got lights to light it up. Everything on the table in front. It was really cool. So I think we've taken a lot from them on that, the merch game.
So bringing Marcus on tour was the best decision that we could have made. He saved us on so many occasions, and there were shows that we played where there was 10 or 15 minute changeovers. And with our setup, that's pretty much impossible. Like, with Marcus there, we were able to make it happen. And since we run in-ears and click tracks and all that kind of stuff, there's not always going to be a sound person there that will be able to put that together super quick. And Marcus was just on the money every single night, and I just consider him part of the band now.
When I first moved to Christchurch in 2006, when I was 18 years old, and I went to the Music and Audio Institute in New Zealand, Marcus was my one of my teachers at Mains. And so we've known each other for a long time, almost 20 years. Like, words cannot describe like the amount of work that guy does for us. Like, we would have been lost at so many points on this tour without him. Just his knowledge of anything to do with sound, and he's so dry and funny, and I think sometimes he just like levels us out, and it must be hard for a guy who's, you know, a decade older than all of us, but he still wanted to come, he still wanted to be part of it, so pretty thankful for him to be here.
Having someone like Marcus around is so like immensely beneficial for every member in the band, because you know what it does? It gives everyone a chance to have a friend outside of who you have the gig with. And when you are playing with Dan and maybe with Nick or Stace or Stu, and you know, we're having a good time together, sometimes we play and it's hard. Sometimes we make mistakes and, you know, we want to do better. Sometimes we make the same mistake over and over. It's really so emotionally and mentally crucial to have someone like Marcus who is out there, who can actually have that bird's eye perspective and say, nah, you guys were fucking great, and help pull you out of your own head and let you see something from the mixing engineer's point of view, which generally most of the time is a lot more big picture and helps you get out of the small perspective that you have of your and other people's performance on stage, you know? So I think that's a real massive emotional and mental support that Marcus brings to the tour, and his wisdom and good looks, of course.
Marcus, I've always said for a number of years, is a very calming influence, especially when you have pre-show jitters, things like that. When I've toured with other bands and he's been doing sound, he'll poke his voice into your ears and, all right, guys, everything's going great. Just when you're ready to start, you know, and he really levels you. Also, just he is that barrier between my technical knowledge and the band's technical knowledge of sound and the house tech. And he always strives to get the most out of whatever PA or system that he's provided. So it's hard to list one thing, but that's a big one, is just being that interpreter between what we need and what the venue has, and making do with what we've got. It's calming influence, and he's just a great guy, you know, like he's just a sweet dude. So I'm glad that we brought him. It just made everything so much smoother.
He saved our asses every single night, to be honest. Without Marcus, we would be up shit creek without a pedal, and we owe everything to Marcus because he ensured that we sounded great every night. And, you know, sometimes we didn't have in-ear monitors because of all the RF clogging, and he just came in and saved the day every night. So absolute credit to him. He made this trip possible in a way that we wouldn't have been able to do without him.
One other thing I want to mention is that we brought our own sound guy from Christchurch, New Zealand as well. Marcus in the back there. The two right there. We would be fucking nowhere without that man. I love you, cheers, Marcus. Thanks for everything.
I think one of my favorite things not being on stage was making the vlogs with the guys. I think the Lake Michigan one is potentially my favorite episode, but so much fun.
I think hanging out in Las Vegas with Cuda for our birthdays was probably my favorite thing. It was good times.
There was a moment after the San Francisco show when we were driving back to the ACOM, and by this point it's, you know, 4 or 5 days into the tour, we're all getting used to each other snoring and all that kind of thing. And someone came up in the van about someone having snortism, and I don't think I've ever laughed as hard in my life for a long time. Like and we were just like watching the other boys laugh, and it was just causing me to laugh. And it's just like moments like that I just, you know, that's what I'm going to remember. Just how crack up and how happy we were, and yeah.
Probably out in Vegas with Marcus smacking him in the head with a rose. Because we'd just finished the last show and we had gone out and partied and we were having such a good time, and that's my favorite off stage moment, and Marcus just being like pissed off but loving every minute of it, and that was such a moment of completion.
It's got to be the Sphere. That was absolutely mind-blowing. Seeing Wizard of Oz, you know, a classic film I've seen 24 times already, and then to see it in that magnitude with the wind cannons and the leaves and the apples falling from the sky, and just looking up and seeing the ceiling of the buildings, and oh man, it was crazy.
Probably the highlight off-stage moment was going to the Sphere in Las Vegas. That thing was actually life-changing. An incredible experience. And I can't believe the technology involved. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. And if you can go to that, make sure you do.
The joke here is the worst part about touring is touring. It's pretty brutal being in a twin room with 6 guys on air beds that deflate, and there's snoring going on, and it's hot, and some of the rooms have loud ACs. It's just that, you know, if that's your worst complaint, then it's not really that bad, is it?
The hardest thing about being on tour is that no one relieved me.
There was a fleeting feeling, admittedly, when we got off stage in Las Vegas, or off the floor, that I almost felt like purposeless, because I've spent so much of my time and life organising this. So for it to be over, I was just like, damn, what do I do next? So that was kind of a weird feeling to deal with.
It's probably just being cooped up with other people that have, you know, different standards or different ways of doing things. And, you know, if I was 23 and doing this tour, I wouldn't have, you know, given it the slightest thought. But now that, you know, I'm older and I've become sort of set in my ways a little bit, and, you know, I don't think that conflict is necessarily a bad thing. It's probably the worst part, because everything else was so great. Something specific to the USA, though, is that some of the drives are really, really long, and, you know, you might drive through bloody cornfields for 2 days before you find anything else. So I think that would be another thing worth mentioning.
For that amount of time is always going to be missing the people that you love back at home. I had a few moments throughout the tour where that really affected me, especially towards the end. It's a very strange feeling that, you know, these days we can have contact with everyone at home, but we can't, you know, be there with them. And it's a strange feeling. But yeah, I did find myself in some dark spots there a few times. And, you know, sometimes if I'm feeling a bit down, I like to be alone. And there's absolutely no way to be alone on a tour like this. You're just back in the van, or you're back in the venue, or you're in another hotel room, and you're constantly surrounded in close quarters by people. So yeah, that was hard.
I would potentially change the method. This time we drove around in a van and stayed in motels every night. I would also change, like, maybe not doing a headlining tour next time. We were forced to do a headlining tour, or a hand was forced to create a headlining tour for us, because of the limitations of our visa. We didn't have enough time to pre-book a tour far enough in advance after we got the okay on our visas. So if we were to do it again next time, I think that I'd rather be a part of a package where you have a larger band above you and maybe go as main support or something like that. That would be something that I'd do differently if I could choose.
I think if we were able to do it, I think potentially a couple more days off. You know, if we had another 20 shows, maybe have 4 shows and then a day off, or just being able to have a little bit more time to recover from the brutality of travel. I think there would be things that we did differently as far as how the shows happened as well. Like this time, there were a couple of shows that were put together kind of last minute because of venue changes or whatever, and they didn't have opening bands. I think a non-negotiable for me next time was that there was 2 opening bands every single show. But yeah, there's so much we learned. Like, you could sit here and answer this question for hours.
I'm not getting any younger, and one thing I will say at 50 is hotel rooms and catering, I think, for next time.
I would like to, instead of me trying to change things about tour, I'd like to do more touring and grow into it. I don't think that there's things that necessarily have to change. It's about learning how to work with the tour, and that's what I feel like I want to do a better job of. I had quite a few things go on back home, and I've realized that I need to leave my shit at home than bringing it on tour, and that I need to get better into the flow of tour than trying to make tour change for me. And I feel like if I continue to do that and do more touring, I'll be a better touring musician than trying to change the world to my desires.
I think if we could afford to do it, it would be nice to split the rooms up. And it's not that I don't want to hang out with the boys or anything like that. It's just sleeping on the floor or sleeping hard up against somebody in a twin bedroom. Twin bed has its moments, you know? So I think that's what I would probably change. A little bit more space when we're sleeping.
I definitely wouldn't have done a headline tour. I think like a package tour would have been better. We were like the opening band or the second band, you know, it's all good. But no, apart from that, maybe getting funding because man, the financial hole that we've got to do this tour is pretty depressing at times, but it's all good.
Hello.
I think the hardest part about touring is that it has an end date. If we could spend more time together and work through things together and get better at this, then not that we're bad at it, but if we could spend more time and master the art of touring the world as a professional band, you wouldn't have a single thing that would be hard about it. It's something that you just get better at, and it's something I am getting better at and want to do.
Voices of the tribe.